Welcome to episode 5 of the Thinking Behind Reality podcast. Patterns are more real than objects. We tend to think of reality as a collection of things, objects you can point to, matter you can hold, stuff that exists independently. But look closely, and something strange appears. The things don't last, the patterns do. Consider your body. Every cell is temporary. Atoms come and go. Matter is replaced over time, and yet you remain recognizably you. What persists isn't the material, it's the arrangement. This idea shows up everywhere in nature. A whirlpool isn't a thing, it's a pattern of motion in water. A flame isn't an object, it's a process sustained by energy flow. A sound isn't a substance, it's a vibration passing through air. Remove the pattern and nothing remains to point to. Even what we call objects behave this way. At the deepest level, particles appear, interact, and vanish. Fields fluctuate. Energy redistributes. What endures are stable relationships, recurring structures that resist change long enough to feel real. This forces us to rethink what real means. If reality were defined by permanence of material, almost nothing would qualify. But if reality is defined by persistence of form, pattern becomes fundamental. Objects are snapshots, patterns are stories. Scientific thinking leads us here naturally. It shifts focus away from substance and toward structure, from material to information. In modern physics, the universe is less like a warehouse of objects and more like a network of interactions. What exists isn't stuff sitting in space, it's activity organized in consistent ways. This also explains why laws of nature matter more than the things they govern. The same equations describe particles, waves, and fields because the equations capture patterns, not objects. Patterns scale. Objects don't. Patterns don't just describe reality, they carry meaning across time. Information survives not because matter lasts, but because structure repeats. A melody can be played on different instruments and remain the same song. A thought can move between brains and remain the same idea. In the same way, the universe preserves itself not by holding on to particles, but by sustaining patterns that can reappear in new forms. Seen this way, reality becomes dynamic instead of static. Things aren't fixed, they're maintained. Change isn't something that happens to objects. Change is what objects are. This perspective doesn't make the world feel less real. It makes it more alive. Reality becomes a tapestry of ongoing processes, woven together by relationships that repeat, adapt, and evolve. So the next time something feels solid and permanent, remember, what you're seeing is a pattern moving slowly enough to hold its shape. Objects fade, patterns persist, and this realization opens a new question. If patterns are more real than objects, what role does observation play in shaping which patterns appear stable? As we start to see reality as a world of patterns rather than objects, something subtle changes. Patterns don't exist in isolation. They don't announce themselves as real on their own. They persist only when conditions allow them to, and when they're recognized as stable, which raises an uncomfortable question. If patterns are what truly endure, how do we decide which patterns count as real? Is reality something that simply exists, or something that becomes defined when it's observed? Because the moment observation enters the picture, reality stops being purely external. Measurement matters. Perspective matters. The act of looking becomes part of what's happening. And that leads us to the next idea, one of the strangest and most misunderstood in all of science. The observer is not separate from reality. That's where we're going next. This is the thinking behind reality. I am happy you are here.